Namaste, Rashmi. Nice to see you here. I wonder where everybody else is, but maybe too many
Namah
classes.
Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Yeah,
Nice.
actually,
Yeah, tell me.
what has happened? No, what has happened, I think, is that this was never a Sunday class. It was a Monday class, right, for
Yeah,
India.
yeah, for India.
So
Right.
there is some confusion in that. But
Yeah.
I am right now at that Ayurveda place I told you,
Yes,
STJ.
yes. I have been there.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
you have?
with Swamiji actually. But
Okay.
very nice to have you here all to myself.
Thank you.
So
Thank
we will do the class. Doesn't matter who is here, who is not, and
Yes.
it will be on YouTube when people want to catch up.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः Having talked about the various ways to take care of certain limitations, and we have seen the limitations from the beginning, and what are they? We have talked about shortage of shraddha. We have talked about lack of we've talked about managing what is that, sleep at wrong times, and then the anger and all these things, trust, anger, and then in the last, immediately last verse, which is number 8, mada and matsarya, pride and jealousy, which are something which is very ubiquitous, which is everywhere, and so they have to be managed. And how to manage them? You be bigger than that which is confronting you by taking recourse to what is called sarvatma bhava. And then so the sarvatma bhava means understanding, that all this here is one undivided reality alone, and that reality you are. And to see that, and to see that you could be easily in somebody else's shoes. Right now you are the victor, but you could easily, very easily be a loser next time. And so, knowing that there is some humility cultivated, and then he concludes this particular section a little bit. I mean, it's still a continuation, and we'll see how. Anyanapi jayet doshan nitya vicharanat. So, anyan means other doshas, other flaws and fallacies within oneself may also be overcome. Jayet may also be conquered. How can they be conquered? Nitya vicharanat, constantly by discerning the finite, anitya, and from the infinite, nitya. Now, what is that going to do to help one to overcome various fallacies within oneself, raga, dvesha, all these things? It's going to help because it will keep the focus on that which is infinite and permanent, namely which is oneself. Otherwise, what happens in the day to day? There is a lot of drama. One gets, even though one is a mumukshu, one is a jignasu, one gets pulled into the drama. One gets terribly badly pulled into the drama because there are certain long standing orientations. These are called habitual orientations. And what happens as a result of that is that one keeps on going, even though one knows that one is interested in Ishvara and in Brahma Vidya, all these things. One gets pulled in various directions because of certain familiarity, and because of certain the force of the samskaras, and certain familiarity with one's ways of being in the past. That is how one gets roped into squabbles, into petty ways of thinking, feeling, and being. And that is when this nitya vastu viveka comes into the picture to rescue oneself. So this is a certain kind of a self rescue which is talked about at length in the Bhagavad Gita. Uddharet atmana atmanam. Lift yourself through your efforts. Lift yourself, because there is this sinking feeling, and one is sometimes even aware of the sinking feeling. And how does that feeling go? Oh no, I am, I am going where I don't want to go. Oh no, I'm saying something I should not, and I'm doing something I should not. So these feelings are there, and one is aware of the feelings. And so here, the discrimination between who I seek, what I seek, and who I am, versus whatever that is confronting me, is what is talked about at length. So, whatever it is that is confronting me cannot be as worthwhile as the truth of myself. Nothing is really worthwhile if we look closely into one's own into one's own life, and all the things that are there in one's life, and you find out, is this worth it? The answer is always, it is not worth it. This is not worth it. It's not worth it. Some kind of a fight. Is it worth it? No. Is it worth it to win this argument? The answer will be no, especially for a jignasu. Is it worth it to just try and convince somebody who is not convincible? No. Is it worth it to do this? No. Always the answer, if you are truthful, the answer will be no. And so therefore it says, anyanapi jayed doshan nitya nitya vicharanat. Nitya and anitya, you please understand that nitya you want is you, anitya is everything else. And then you focus on yourself, and then you focus on this vidya, and then all other things take a back seat. And then that's how one grows out of various other fallacies that one finds within oneself. So this is up to verse 8. It's talking about the external fallacies. Fallacies means fallacies in relation to how one is in the world. Because the jealousy is focused outwards. Shraddha, or the lack thereof, is focused outwards, because one is not jealous of oneself, and one doesn't have distrust centered on oneself. I mean, that is possible, but that's not quite what is going on. So, jealousy, all these things are focused outward. And then, mada, pride, is also in relation to one's accomplishments, is broadcast outwards. So, there is a kind of a linkage between what is being broadcast outwards and one's own internal demeanor. And that connection is going to be, we are going to visit that connection starting verse 9 and 10, with the verses 9 and 10. Why? Because this is a very crucial link, which, if we don't remember, will be just dressing up a broomstick. You put a nice, what is that, kanjivaram sari on a broomstick. What will it be? It will be a broomstick wearing a sari. It's not going to be anything else. It's not going to suddenly turn into some kind of a gracious lady or something like that. No, it's not. It cannot. It's still a broomstick, but it is all frilled up. So similarly, if one takes care of the external faults by developing a so-called sarvatma bhava, and then nitya viveka, all that is wonderful. But then the root of these problems lie in the internal realm of how one sees oneself, of how much the mind is free for one, of how much the mind is actually available, of how deep one can go within oneself. And so this internal external linkage is going to be fleshed out in the next two verses, primarily because whatever is within is without. The same laws apply. So if one has a restless mind and or a tamasic mind, restless and tamasic, these are the two problems which which talk about which are talked about in the shastra constantly. So then what happens, even though one does some kind of a management of anger, if the seeds of inner restlessness are not probed, then the management is just going to be a technique, a shallow affair. It's not going to have any lasting effects. It cannot have any lasting effects, primarily because the anger is just being dealt with and managed on a shallow sense. It's just like, it's no different than what is that called? um, Positive thinking classes. So there are certain positive thinking, positive affirmation classes, nothing wrong. So, and then so these assertiveness training classes, positive thinking classes, all these classes are there, and that is, that is okay. ठीक है, no problem. But then what happens is that why is there a low sense of self confidence? Why is there a low self image? If that is not probed, then the positive thinking is again putting the sari on the broomstick. That is what it's going to be. It's just going to be dressing up the external, which is again a very shallow affair, and which is not going to, there is not going to be any room to look at what is happening within, much less to make the connection that the state of one's mind is actually having a large, very big say over the ways of one's emotions and how and one's relationships in the world. Because all this we have seen, we have seen the verses for 1 to 8 here have been the management of various emotions vis-a-vis one's relationships in the universe. But those relationships in the universe are useless. Well, managing those are useless if one is not attending to whatever is causing these difficulties. That has to be looked at. And so therefore there are some two verses wonderfully, and they are plucked. Where are they plucked from? They are plucked from the tree called the Mandukya Upanishad. Oh, but but then how come they can be plucked like that? Because Vedanta is like that. You are not going to, you are not going to, what is that, try and improve upon the Upanishad. Why? Because the very definition of Upanishad, as we have seen and as we will continue to see, is that which cannot be improved upon. And so, what is it that you do? You just take things from there. And, you become a copycat. That's all you are. And you are a shameless copycat because it's okay. There's nothing catty about it, even though you are a copycat. It's just because you're just you're showcasing the Upanishad because you cannot say it better than the Upanishad. So, here, even though these two verses, by way of introduction, let me say, they are not part, strictly speaking, part of the Mandukya Upanishad. The Mandukya Upanishad is actually very short, and then, but the grand guru of Adi Shankara, Gaudapadacharya. So Gaudapadacharya wrote a commentary in verse called Karika. Why is it called commentary in verse? Because without it, we would definitely be worse off about how to interpret the Mandukya Upanishad. And it has such a, since it's an ancient text, one of the few pre-Shankara texts that we have found in the tradition other than Bhagavan Vyasa, it is regarded very, very highly, and also because it plumbs into the depths of Vedanta like no other text can do. It is just an amazing text. We must study it sometime in its entirety. I insist upon that. Sometime we will do that. But then This is the beauty of this karika, is that it has become part and parcel of the Upanishad. So when the Upanishad is studied, the karika is studied alongside, as though it is also part of the Upanishad. That's why, when we study Mandukya, we do not leave the Karika out. Along with the Karika, we study the Upanishad in its entirety. It is just awesome, very, very beautiful. And so here, these two verses from uh, chapter 3 of the Karika, called Advaita Prakarana. What is that? Verses number 44 and 45, I think. They have been lifted almost verbatim. And so they talk about having a rich internal life for the Vedantin. And a rich internal life is not just an act of meditation. This is what is also talked about in Adi Shankara's Bhashya to these verses. It's not just becoming an adept meditator. Because if you become an adept meditator, what happens? Well, what happens is that you learn how to manage the mind for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever length of time you're meditating. After that, you give yourself the license to scream, the license to yell, the license to all kinds of things. And so then again there is that disconnect. And this is something Adi Shankara cautions as we study these verses, that they are not meant to just quell certain difficulties in the mind in order to become an adept meditator. And the point of these verses, that's why they are in the Advaita Prakarana. Advaita Prakarana means the chapter that is talking about non-duality. Why are they in the chapter on non-duality? Because the first duality that you encounter is, quote unquote, between the within and the without, within one's frame of mind, and then how one deals with the universe. That is the first duality, and that is what is being reconciled here, being healed through these verses. Very, very beautiful, and we'll see. And one more thing I want to say by way of introduction is, finally, it's not about becoming an adept meditator or an adept yogi who can promptly go off into samadhi, but about continuing that meditative state even though one is not, technically speaking, meditating. So, from meditation as an act, as a discrete act, that one is progressing towards getting into a meditative way of life and a way of being where it is 24/7, 365. What is it called? Shabdanuviddha samadhi, drishyanuviddha samadhi, which means that anything that you hear, it puts you in that meditation. Anything that you see is puts you in that meditative state. And so, in a way, it's not a state, but it's an attitude towards life. A calm, resolved, and a lovely attitude towards, a tranquil attitude towards one's life is what is being talked about in these two verses. So, let us see. लये सम्बोधयेच्चित्तम् लये सम्बोधयेच्चित्तं विक्षिप्तं शमयेत् पुनः विक्षिप्तं शमयेत् पुनः सकषायं विजानीयात् सकषायं विजानीयात् समप्राप्तन्न चालयेत् समप्राप्तन्न चालयेत् नास्वादयेत्र सन्तत्र नास्वादयेत्र सन्तत्र निस्सङ्गः प्रज्ञया भवेत् निस्सङ्गः प्रज्ञया भवेत् विषेदेकाग्रया बुद्ध्या विषेदेकाग्रया बुद्ध्या सिद्धिमेवमवाप्नुयात् siddhimevamavapnuyat. So these two verses very very important. And then let's see, look at the first one. Laye means a dissolution, and it is a shorthand here for sleep. So in laya, what is the internal laya? Sleep. That is what it is. That's how we know laya. So laye, when there is sleep, when you're sitting for meditation, and what comes instead of Om Namah Shivaya? Sleep. Okay, very delicious sleep. So that sleep, laye, sambodhayet chittam. Chittam here is not to be confused with Satchidananda, that chit. Here, chittam means the internal infrastructure, mind, ahankara, etc. So when all of them go to sleep, bulao, vapas bulao, meaning call them back. Sambodhayet. How to call them? The caller is also asleep, because if the caller is awake, then I can call, but the caller is also asleep. That is what is laya. This seems to be a very interesting verse, because it is what is that called? Some kind of a catch, 22 catch. And this 22 catch means that you can't go here or there. Not 22 catch, something catch 22. Yeah. So this catch 22 is is staring at us in the face. What is it doing? Because see, if you are asleep, then if the injunction is, if you are asleep, please wake yourself up. Arey, what is this? you know if I'm asleep, that's why I tell you to wake me up, because please wake me up, I have to do something. This is, if I was able to get up on my own, then why would I, then it would not be called sleep. So, but here, so it seems like a catch 22. How to follow this injunction? Sambodhayet. May one call. May one recall the mind that is dozing off. Well, because it is not talking of sleep, where, it's not talking of sound sleep. What is Pujya Swamiji's definition of sound sleep? Sleep that produces a sound. Okay, yeah, so that is not what we are talking about. So we are talking about that. The word laya has to be understood as that in and out state, where one is entering, as it were, and the awareness is not completely, into a collapsed into a causal place, where that, the mind is not completely gone. It is that in between state where, ahaha, so nice. I think I should meditate more often when that thought comes. So that time, wapas aa jao, come back, call yourself back, because you're teetering in between two worlds. You're teetering between the waking and the sleep states. Then you can call yourself back. So therefore, it's not quite a catch 22, even though it may appear that way. And so, laye sambodhaye chittam. And you can't, chittam means the internal infrastructure. And you can't call it very sweetly. I think it's a good idea to get up. It will not get up. Hey, you're meditating, wake up. Then it will get up. Okay. So this has to be done forcefully enough for the mind to awaken. And it's just like, what is that, when one is a kid, especially growing up in India, and the next day is exams. Oh my god, the way one wakes up, even in the middle of the night, thinking, oh, and there's a recurrent dream that the entry ticket into the exam, called the hall ticket, is lost. And and then one and one is denied entry. So these kinds of terrible dreams come. And because in America it's just such a easy thing. You can forget even yourself at home, and no problem, there will be some other arrangement made for you to take the test and then excel in it also. Not like that in India. You get one chance and you better not mess it up. So like this, when the exam is there the next day, the way one wakes up, like that, you have to wake up in the meditation. You have to bring yourself back. Please bring yourself back. So this is called laya, and it is a very important pratibandha. Pratibandha means obstacle. It's a terribly important obstacle in meditation. That's why I keep saying Vedanta class, I have concluded, is like a 1 hour meditation. Why? Many people are sleeping. That's why. That's why I have concluded that, because everybody needs to focus. And then after focus, what happens? Then one focuses on oneself, and it is so relaxing to hear that Tvamasi, you are the whole, you are limitless, nothing like you, nothing unlike you. Very nice. So you experience that oneness right in the class, not in the way the Shastra and the teacher intended, but in your own way. And so this is called laya. It's a very important pratibandha, whether one is meditating or one is listening to the class. So laye sambodhaye chittam, bring yourself back. So this laya is the first pratibandha. And then what else is the next one? Distraction. One is awake, but all kinds of thoughts are flooding the mind. As I said, first, you give the mind a thought to think. What is the thought? Om Namah Shivaya. What is the next thought? Om Namah Shivaya. What is the third thought? Om Namah Shivaya. What is the fourth thought? I think I'm going to give this up. That is the fourth thought, because the fourth thought is never Om Namah Shivaya. With great difficulty, three thoughts we are able to do. And then the fourth thought is nothing is happening. I'm going to give this up. So, this is why it is said, bring the mind back, laye sambodhaye chittam. And then the next pratibandha is discussed here, vikshiptam. If the mind is got, kship to throw, vikship, v plus kship to throw forcefully. Visheshena kshiptam vikshiptam. Past passive participle. So the mind that is thrown off from what? Derailed from the mantra, from the focus on either a Mahavakya, or if it is a contemplation, if it is a sitting on contemplation, or if it's a meditative sitting, then the mind which is thrown off from what? From the mantra. Vikshiptam. So it's thrown off into other thoughts. It's derailed from what it is supposed to do. And then it starts to have what the Panchadashikara calls in chapter 4 of the Panchadashi. Swami Vidyaranya has a nice expression, Manorajyam. Manorajya. Manorajya means a kind of a fantasy life. Oh, let's see what will happen. When is my next vacation? I need a vacay. If not a vacay, I need a staycay. That is another thing. Staycation. Meaning, how is vacation different from staycation? You tell yourself that it is the pandemic, you can't go anywhere, you shouldn't go anywhere, but you pretend to go. You draw all the blinds and everything, and you pretend to go so that nobody comes, and then you are skulking around in your own house like a robber, and this is staycation, unavailable. So some kind of rest, relaxation, this is what is being fantasized. Or if one is hungry, all kinds of food items are being fantasized. Or if one has some cudgels, some grudges to reconcile, how I will take care of the grudges with the people is being fantasized. Wait till I get that person. Wait till I make them sit in front of me. I have a few things to say. The fellow is all puk puk puk. Doesn't say anything when confronted with the person. But one can certainly dream. It is free. So one dreams of taking care of all kinds of things in the meditation. This is called vikshepa. Thoughts come like like robbers and steal away the mantra, the peace of mind. Thoughts come like, silently, with padded feet. They don't announce their arrival. They just come and hijack the person, they kidnap the meditator without even so much as a muffled cry, because the meditator is a willing kidnappee, happily gets kidnapped tied and bound, and then what? Gone with the wind. The meditation is, this session is gone. Better luck next time. So, this is what is called vikshepa. These two constitutes the two big obstacles to meditation: laya, which is sleep, and then vikshepa, distraction. That is why we keep saying, for effective meditation, to focus on the space between the chants. Why on the space? Because when you're saying Om Namah Shivaya, it's unlikely that there will be distraction. So, between the first Om Namah Shivaya, or not the first, between one Om Namah Shivaya and the second Om Namah Shivaya, there is a little breath catching space. Om Namah Shivaya. So, one next thought, Om Namah Shivaya. Between thought number one and thought number two, in that space, havoc is created, because that is where the distraction takes place. Oh, and now I'm going to have a Sankalpa. What is your Sankalpa? From now on, I will not have any more distractions. That itself becomes a distraction, because you sit to with meditation, it's a setup. I will not be distracted. I will not be distracted. Now you're distracted by the thought of distraction. Okay. The same thing to say, I will not have any more desires. I will give up all desires. Then when are you going to give up the desire to not have desires? That it becomes like that. It becomes an infinite regress. So therefore, you cannot tell yourself, I will not have distractions, because that, my friends, is a setup for failure. It's a total setup for failure. So therefore, what? So therefore, you say to yourself, let the distraction come. But then what am I going to do? I am in charge. I'm going to do the same thing that I did when sleep came. When sleep came, I was advised to call back the mind, to call back the antakarana to wake up. And similarly, when distraction comes, also I'm going to call back the mind to the job at hand, mantra or contemplation on the Mahavakya, whatever it is. So vikshiptam, when there is distraction, when the mind is distracted, then shamayet, have a say over it. So there may be some difficult thoughts, some things from the unconscious may come up, and there may be some very difficult thoughts which one is not able to reconcile, and then you slowly console yourself. So the word shama here also in the sense of consoling oneself, kind of making peace with the whole thing and consoling oneself. And so, when there is vikshepa, please, don't judge yourself, because then the vikshepa will be worse. Oh, I cannot meditate. This is not a useful thought. I cannot meditate. I have to do this. I have to do that. No, this is not it. So this is not a useful thought, because there is, again, in addition to the distraction, now we have to deal with the distraction of self judgment. So, in sleep, rouse the mind, and then through jnana and vairagya, the mind is roused. This is Adi Shankara's contribution. How is the mind roused through jnana and vairagya? Because we let the sleep go. And same thing you do with the vikshepa. Turn the mind to the nitya vastu viveka. What do I want? Moksha. When do I want it? Now. So bring the mind back to the state of tranquility. If it is distracted by various objects, desires, people, situations, events, etc., bring it back. Bring it back, so see, so therefore, so it is not so much as a chitta vritti nirodha. It is not so much stopping of the thoughts. That is the yogic path. But here in Vedanta, we say having a say over the ways of the mind. So bring it back to what? A state of equilibrium. So learn to parent the mind, because difficult thoughts come. Oh, nobody loves me, or somebody was mean to me, somebody said something they shouldn't have, somebody did something they didn't should not have. Why bring somebody into the picture? I did something that I should not have. I should have done this, not that. So, this guilt is not being able to reconcile one's own omissions and commissions. Hurt is not being able to reconcile with other people's omissions and commissions towards oneself, real or perceived. This is this is what it is. And so, therefore, this bringing back to a state of tranquility from Vikshepa is something which is very important. That's why we can use all the yogic tools that we have, that we can do pranayama that calms the mind, definitely, or some rounds of alternate nostril breathing is advised. And then we can do we can do watching the breath for some time, because somehow watching the breath also calms down the mind. And then you can also do some, you can if there is if the distraction is too much, you can get up, walk around, and then sit down again. That is also there. And the so dealing with the distractions is like being a mother to various emotions that arise. It's like parenting the emotions. So if the small child is going for a walk, a toddler is going for a walk with its parent, with the mother or the father, what will it do? It will toddle off. That's why it's called toddler. It will go off the curb. It might venture into the street, because it doesn't know, it's small, it doesn't know that there is traffic. So as soon as the feet go this way and the toddler goes towards that, the parent slowly, the father or the mother slowly brings the child back. No, 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 cars are there, you have to be here with me, hold my hand and walk. No, 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 I have to go there. And again, it will go. After 2 minutes, it will hold the hand. Then it sees a butterfly. Butterfly is flying off into the street. It also goes behind the butterfly. Then again, the parent brings it back. Now, if you think of this small child, is it going to help to shout at the child? Obviously not. You can shout because you are impatient. Maybe it will help you to release and vent out some emotions, but it's certainly not going to help the child, because the child is not developed in the brain cells are not developed enough to understand what is traffic and what is danger. It doesn't know. That's why obviously it needs you, the parent. And so, same thing, these emotions are, kind of inner children. They have that same force, unresolved emotions popping up like bubbles from the past. In fact, the Buddha called them, what is that? Called these bubbles as Mara. Mara means a certain kind of a, temptation producing and recalcitrant emotions, which have to be conquered. Even in Buddhism, a big deal is made of this. And even in the, even in the Yoga Sutras, a very big deal is made of this. And so we help ourselves to all this in order to achieve a sense of non judgmental tranquility. You cannot, you cannot be hard on yourself at this time. Oh, why am I sleeping? I shouldn't do this. I have to do this. No, you don't have to do anything. You slept. Okay, wake up. You recall yourself. Take delight in the fact that you woke up. Wonderful. I was able to wake up. Very nice. I did sleep, but I woke up. And then I was distracted, but I am here now. Oh, but I'll be distracted again. Don't worry, I'll come back again. And this is the way, through a tranquil, loving, and non judgmental stance, one trains the mind to be with one thought. And what is the advantage of training the mind to be with one thought? Training the mind to be with one thought is important because, there is some, there is, otherwise, what happens is that between you, the Sakshi, and the mind can overpower the Sakshi. So the ahankara has to identify with the sakshi, not with the mind. That is what is the beauty of meditation. The I notion, the I thought should not be identified with the mind. If the I notion is identified with the mind, everything, that is the problem. That is why there is subjectivity. That is why there is vikshepa. In the meditative and the non-meditative state, there are all kinds of projections. That is why there is laya. All these things happen because the I notion, the ahankara, is identified with the mind. Meditation is all about bringing the ahankar because this is a subjective state. Why is it subjective? Because the truth of the jiva, the truth of oneself is that the ahankara is not identified with the mind. That is that is the truth. And so therefore the the ahankara is gently pried away from the mind. A mind in laya or a mind in vikshepa is doing its own thing. That is why the one thing we can say about the mind is what? Never mind. So this is meditation, learning to say never mind to the mind. What happens? Let us see what happens if the ahankara is kidnapped by the mind, is abducted by the mind. Then there is no sakshita. There is the inability to witness happens, and one cannot have a say over the ways of the mind, because the witness has gone missing in action, so to speak. The witness has been abducted by the emotional states. The witness has been abducted by the tamasic state, sleep, emotional states, strong emotions, rajas. So, this witness is what is recalled. Because if you are wondering who is being called, the Ahankara is re invited to sit on the throne of the Sakshi. It's like the story of this kingdom, very interesting ancient story. And so this kingdom was some kind of a collective prarabdha, collective karma it had. What was the karma? This kingdom always was cursed with bad kings, horrible kings, each one more corrupt than the next, and then the one that came before. So, very terrible kings, tyrants, dictators, and people who just use the coffers of the kingdom for their own good. And so the people were very frustrated. With great difficulty, they overthrew the king that had just occupied the country. And so, what did they do? They said to themselves, they made a decision that they are going to not have people, not have another king, because anybody who is a king has been bad. So they said, well, I don't know how to have this king, etc. We will just say whoever is passing by the royal palace. What happens? We are going to choose that person as the king. So they looked out of the balcony of the royal palace, and a dog was the first one that was passing. So then they said, oh, what to do now? They said, well, Sankalpa is a Sankalpa. We have already made the Sankalpa. So this dog is going to have its day. That's how perhaps the expression every dog has its day. So then the dog, it was a mangy street dog. And so they put it in a flea dip and then combed it, gave it a collar with golden and pearl buttons, and then, and gave it a little cloak, and then made it sit on the throne. And then, for a while the dog was pleasantly surprised, because usually it was used to being, it was the target of the stones of small boys that were playing on the street, and little urchins, etc. It was not used to this kind of special treatments. In the beginning it covered and it said, oh no, what is happening? Then it understood, oh, they are petting me, they are being nice to me. Well, how nice, how lovely. And then, it said, okay, it loved the attention. And then it sat down with the cloak and the golden collar and necklace. All the necklaces were heaped on it, and then they put a tilak, and then they did pattabhisheka, meaning the anointment of the dog as the king. So, Maharaja Dhiraj, you are now, and you are now our king. And then they did Arati, and it followed the Arati like that, because that's what dogs do. If you have tried to do Arati to dog, this is what it will do. It will go like this, follow the Arati. It enjoyed everything. And then it got bored naturally. Its job is not to sit quietly. And then what happened? It looked out of the balcony. It could see its friend, its girlfriend was coming by and wondering what was happening. And then it just gave itself a nice shake, shook off the pearl mala, shook off the gold and the diamonds, shook off the cloak. What is this? It is all just this, scratchy, itchy. What is this? And then it went off onto the road, wagging the tail behind its friend. Then the ministers were horrified. They said, no, 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 no. We have to bring this dog back. And then they brought the dog back. Again, they wiped it off, because by the time they reached the dog, it had nicely rolled in the dirt 2, 3 times, making the bath redundant. And so then they wiped it off, dusted it off, brought it back, and then put the malas again. And then they said, no, no, you have to sit here, sit, sit, sit. And it sat for a little while. We gave it some food, and then again it saw. What did it see next time? It saw the dog 2 streets away, its sworn enemy. And then what did it do? It just completely went awry and completely started to growl and bark. And they tried to restrain it. And then it bit the hand of the person restraining it. And again, got free, and then went off to settle all the accounts with dog number 2, to establish itself as the alpha dog in the neighborhood. And if you tell this dog, you know what, let it go, you don't have to be the alpha dog, you're not just belonging to this street, you're not just the master of this street, you're the master of this whole kingdom. No use. Similarly, the ahankara, like this dog, is drawn to the previous. It's the all the things that it wants to leave behind. It is drawn to that. So the swarajya, the kingdom of the self, means nothing to the untrained ahankara. Apnoti swara ajyam. These are the concluding. This is the concluding words of the Shiksha Valli in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Swarajyam apnoti. The person gets established in the kingdom of the self. So the Ahankara dog here, and why is it called Ahankara dog? Because it is doggedly identifying with the mind, with the senses, with all these things, with everything that it is not. So the Ahankara is the final hope, because the knowledge is given to the Ahankara. But first it has to be established on the throne called Sakshi, before it enters to reclaim the glory of the kingdom of the self, which is called Swamitvam, or self mastery. So before it does that, it has to learn to establish itself. And so here now is the challenge. So the dog story becomes particularly pertinent when we see that this is what the mind does. This is what the ahankara does, the penchant for the ahankara, because of its orientation. After lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, the I notion identifies with the body, goes off to sleep. The I notion identifies with the mind and is distracted constantly by the train of thoughts, churned out by the mind. And so gently bring it back, gently bring it back, gently make it tranquil and bring it back. Bring it back where? To the place of the Sakshi, to the place of the witness. And that is where is a safe place. The witness also resolves, because the witness is not the final say. in terms of this knowledge. Otherwise, one will be stuck with this witnessing. The witness is as close as it gets to Satchidananda, to reclaiming oneself as Satchidananda. The witness is just one step away. The status of occupying that seat of the witness, that status is one step away from understanding oneself as the truth of the whole universe, as the cause of the universe, as Ishvara. And then the witness, of course, is in relation to that which is witnessed. So the mind is a object of my witnessing. Oh, here it goes, it's dancing now. It is telling me to get up now, but I won't. It is asking me to go to sleep now, but I won't. It is distracted now. I am just an observer. So when you stay with the observer, then the shenanigans of the mind, what happens is that it is laid bare and you are asanga from it. So the drama of the mind resolves into the Rama, that is the self, Atma Rama. So you remove the D from the drama. Drama is more of you and less of Rama. That is what it is. And you remove the D, more Rama, less drama. That is you. Ramante yasmin yoginah. That in which the yogis revel is called, is the definition of the word Rama. It is the vyutpatti. Vyutpatti means the derivation. Ramante yasmin yoginah. In that which the yogis revel. Oh, the yogis are reveling in something. I also want to revel. What is it that the yogis revel in? And the yogi, see, there is a very logical understanding of this. The yogis or anybody cannot revel in something that's an object of sorrow. That's the subject matter of sorrow. Because sorrow and revelry are opposite, they don't go hand in hand. So there is no revelry in sorrow. So therefore, when there is revelry, meaning a kind of a lingering identification, is what is revelry. And here, the revelry means there is something wonderful there because I want to linger. I want to be with it. That is what is revelry. So the mind is associated with and is an expert in being one with drama. Notice that there is no drama without the R there. The Rama is there. The drama is a superimposition, so to speak, on the Rama. An incidental superimposition, like even the pot is an incidental superimposition, as it were, of clay, a projection of clay. So the drama is the projection of the mind, and drama, which is what is there, which is the adhishthana of the drama. That's why even in English, when you write drama, Rama is very much present. No drama without Rama, but Rama is without drama. Okay, this you please write down. This is what it is. No drama without Rama. Rama is present in everything. Rama is the truth of the drama too. No drama without drama, but Rama is completely without drama. And so, therefore, Sakshita, getting to the place of identifying with the truth of the I, what happens here? You get back to Rama. Drop the D. D for the doggone mind. Okay, yeah, drop the D. And all that there is you, and everything that is not you is dropped. And what is this dropping? The dropping is done through witnessing. When you witness, it drops. The identification is so tight. When the sakshi comes out, emerges, when you give birth to the sakshi, when you identify with the sakshi, then all other things drop. Only the sakshi remains. Then very soon later you understand, when you progress in the in either close eye meditation or open eye meditation in this way, then you very quickly understand that the sakshi is there as long as there is something to view, to witness, whether it's an internal jagat, the thought world, or whether it is an external jagat, which is Bhagavan's thought world. It is there to witness, then one is the witness. When there is, when one gets to the place of nothing in particular to witness, the Sakshi drops, also drops, leaving in its wake that awareness without any recourse to anything else. The I notion identifies with first with the Sakshi completely, and then it identifies completely with that awareness, with that consciousness, because it is but that consciousness. So you can't go there right in the beginning. So we take it little by little, we take it step by step. So the first step, Vikshepa and Laya mastery. How bringing it back to Sakshi. Second step, reveling and sitting with the Sakshi. And then, and then that step goes for a long time, because it's all about ishvarification of the entire universe, seeing everything as Bhagavan, seeing whatever is within Bhagavan. Without Bhagavan, everything is just I am just a witness of this whole Jagat. And then what? The Jagat comes and goes, and then I still am. Jagat plus I is still I. Jagat minus I is still I. So, Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam Nishprapancham Prapanchyate. So, you use this methodology. One helps oneself to this methodology, Anvaya and Vyatireka. The maxim of invariable concomitance, if you want to put it in English. So, what is this maxim of invariable concomitance? Because, so if A is there, B is also there. B goes, but A is still there. So, A is the truth of B, A is the content of B. That is what it is. So Atma is there, then Ahankara is there, then distraction is there, sleep is there. Sleep comes and goes, Atma still is there, I am still there. This thing comes and goes, emotions come and go, I am still there. So I am the one that's lending support and lending my presence, so to speak, to various emotions. Various emotions. I am the one lending the presence. I am the one lending the presence and animation to the drama too. If you know this, then you can enjoy the drama. Like Lord Krishna, everything was a wonderful drama for him. He enjoyed it because he was Ubhayataf Prajna, to borrow a phrase from the Mandukya Upanishad, aware of everything within, aware of everything without, to just mention it briefly. So he was born self-aware of himself as as an entity who was completely not into in samsara, who was completely born with self-knowledge as Bhagavan. He knew he was Bhagavan, whereas people don't know they are Bhagavan. And so, and for such a person, this for such a Bhagavan, everything is a drama, it's a leela. So if you know that the drama is a drama, you can enjoy it. But if you identify with the drama, then suddenly it becomes a horror movie, it becomes scary. And that is what is to understand. More about this we'll see in a couple of weeks. There are some questions. We eschew our anger and emotions from time to time, but that is all that we can do with our current understanding. It's not that we are trying to suppress or cap our emotions, but that is all that the tools that we have at the moment. No, in the moment you are right. Yes, we can eschew the anger or suspend it, but later on, shamayet has two meanings. One is to suspend it in the moment, and then later on take care of it. If it needs to be vented out, you vent it out. Whatever needs to be done, you do to get to the place of tranquility after the meditation, especially with core emotions. And we have seen many times how to do that. Then I said, Jagat plus I is equal to I, Jagat minus I is I. Will it not be Jagat plus I is equal to Jagat, and Jagat minus I is equal to Jagat, because Jagat is much bigger than the I? Well, the Jagat is much bigger than the I if you identify with a body mind sense complex, yes, then everything is much bigger than the I. But here, the Jagat Sakshi, Jagatah Sakshi, the Sakshi of the Jagat, which is that awareness, that consciousness. When you identify with that, the Jagat is like a mosquito bite, comes and goes. And you know it has bitten because you have a little itchy feeling. Oh, the Jagat has come and gone. That is how it is. So that is where we have to get to, because right now, of course, the jagat and everything in its in whatever is drishya, what we see, what we encounter, is bigger than oneself. That is the cause of sorrow. Dvaita di bhayam bhavati. So the ahankara is walked over from identifying with the body mind sense complex to identifying with the cause of the universe. So the cause of the universe is greater than the universe. The cause of the Jagat Karanam is bigger than the Jagat. You are not this body mind sense complex. You are the cause of the Jagat. That is where to go with this. Big stuff, yeah. Very big stuff. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Tomorrow same time we are starting a new class, Mundakopanishad. All of everybody is welcome to attend. Yeah. Oh, somebody is raising the hand. Who is that?
It's
Sarinder,
me,
yes.
Swaminiji.
Yeah, tell me.
Swamiji, we thought the class was at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, what time is it now?
Yeah, because right now it is 9 p.m. Eastern
Ah,
at our
be it is.
place.
Be it is.
So,
Yeah, and so I don't know how,
so
but
what should we do now
only
for the rest of the classes?
yeah, rest of the see, I teach at the same time. I don't know what time it
Okay.
is for any of you. So I'm sorry
Okay.
about that, because when I saw only Rashmi, I said, oh, because Rashmi is from India, so she got it correctly. And so in the beginning, it was just me and her, and slowly people started to come. So yes, I'm very sorry about that. So
No problem, Swamiji. But
make it whatever time you do
so
it. And
then,
please post. Yeah, don't go away. Please post the schedule there. Post
but
the
Swamiji,
Swamiji, if I post the schedule, it will be 9 p.m. Eastern for all of
yeah,
us. So
but
it
now
should
they
be
will understand. It's 8 p.m. Okay, yeah. So
okay. So I'll
Swamiji,
post the schedule wherever it is 9, it is 8. Yeah. And we
okay.
are used to adhyasa. So
Okay.
yeah, we will so take
Okay.
9 to be 8. Yeah. It
Okay.
will be 8. Yeah. And that's because you see our time didn't change. Our time didn't change. Our
Yes,
time, so
Swamiji.
your time changed. So you bear the brunt of that time change. Why should I?
yes,
I will
Swamiji.
send a, I will send a reminder to everyone
Yeah,
because nine
send
is
it,
eight. Yes,
send it everywhere, and then I don't know how it
yes.
got it. So
Yes,
yeah, so that is what it is. Okay, so tomorrow same time means what time?
8 p.m.
Ah,
8 p.m.
8 o'clock, Mundakopanishad. Yeah, after
Thank you,
dinner
Swamiji.
dessert. Okay, yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Hari Om.
Oh,
Swamiji,
yes.
even the Gita, everything was set as 9 p.m. So I'll make everything 8 p.m. Swamiji.
Yeah, 8 p.m. I
My,
don't know how it became
okay.
9 p.m. Somebody, must have given it to me, and then I didn't do the math. Yeah, so I just wrote it down just like that.
I'll correct and mail it, Swamiji.
Yeah, please correct and put it in the everything, and
I will
please
do that.
share with
I
everybody.
will do that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Swamiji.
fun. Yeah, it is on YouTube. You can, whatever you missed, you go and watch. Okay, yeah, no problem. Om Tat Sat. Good night, good morning,
Thank you.
Good
wherever you
night.